make sure you sign in. And again, we're going to be getting started in about 10 minutes or so. So please go ahead and make your way to the food table and to your seats.
Oh, hey, Dante, real quick. So I got the live stream set up. I'll be able to see it here. Is that all right if I keep it here?
Yeah, is it going to be able to get everybody?
please find your seats. I know it's so exciting when we all get together because we're like family, but we need you guys to find your seats, or it's going to be 10 o'clock before we get out of here. All right? So if you guys will kindly find your seats. Find your seats. Candidates, again, make your way to the front. If you are a candidate, you're going to be sitting up here so y'all don't have to travel through the crowd. Again, candidates coming up front. If you are a candidate, you're going to be sitting over here unless you're in this first batch of state house races and congressional races. So, again, find your seats.
Do you need one? Yes.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Luana Hurd Tucker. I'm the chair of the Fulton County Democratic Party here. I am so glad that you guys are here to join us tonight. I know there are 1,000 places that you guys could have been, but you guys chose to be here. So that means you're among those who are educated and want to get educated about what's happening here in the party and what's happening in your community. So we're hoping that this event, you can go out and share what's happening. So you're going to be hearing from pretty much all the candidates tonight. Most of them were able to RSVP and you hear back from. So again, we're going to try to make this as brief as possible for each of these candidates so that way you can get to know them. And also, because I see a few in the room, if you are here to heckle, if you are here as a protester, you will be asked to leave by security. So again, if you are disruptive, if you are disrespectful, you will be escorted out. We don't play those games. So, I do see a few of you in the room, so you don't want that smoke tonight. I'm not that chair. I'm not that chair. So again, be on your best behavior, be respectful. Again, no heckling, if so, you will be put out. Everybody understand we're on one accord? All right, well, I'm going to again turn it over to Dante Carter, who is the chair of our North Fulton Democrats, to go ahead and introduce our moderator.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I just want to thank y'all so much for coming out. One of the things that we're working to do is just make sure that up here in North Fulton, we armed everyone with the information. As y'all know, early voting is underway. It lasts until May 17th, so we need y'all to show up. We need y'all to show up. We need y'all to make a statement. We need y'all to make it loudly. I'm really excited about who our moderator is going to be tonight. A great friend, Emmy Award-winning journalist, host of the Business Brief podcast. All-around great person. We handed her a list of questions, and she said, "You know I'm a journalist, right?" I said, "Yeah, we know. And so when I got the questions back, they looked a little different. But these questions came from within the community, and so that's one of the things that we're proud to do is make sure that we're getting our information back to the community. So without further ado, everybody, our moderator, Natasha Gibbons.
Hello, and welcome to the North Fulton Democrats Candidate Forum. Again, I'm Latasha Gibbons, and I'm so honored to be here with you all tonight. So, we have a very limited amount of time, but get this, we are so excited at the amount of candidates who RSVP tonight. We have 26 candidates. Let's give them a round of applause. It was so important to them to make a pitch directly to the voters in North Fulton. So thank you all for your time, candidates, and for being here, and thank you all for being here as well. So we have some rules. Here are the rules for the candidates. You guys ready? Okay, first, each candidate will have 30 seconds to state their name, their position, and why they are running. After that, each panel will be presented with the same 2 questions. And once you guys finish answering those questions, you will exit and we'll have the next panel come up. Now, it's important to note, number 1 rule, this is a time to talk about what you would do if elected. It's not a time to address incumbents, other candidates, or their records, because we don't have time for rebuttals and fact-checking in real time, which as journalists is very important. So we would love for you to abide by those rules. Now, we have all of our candidates separated into 6 categories. So here's the order to give you guys a heads up. First, we have State House, Senate, and Congressional seats, which all of you guys are up here. Next, we have Clerk of Superior Court Judge, Sheriff, County Commissioner, and for the last panel, we have the District Attorney, Tax Commissioner, and the Board of Education candidates all together because we have one candidate in those races. So without further ado, we're going to get started. Where's Okay, so we're going to start with the candidates introducing themselves. You have 30 seconds each, and then we'll start the questions.
Okay, wonderful. So my name is Jerica Richardson. I'm running for the 6th Congressional District. It's really good to see some of you again, some familiar faces. I am the current Cobb County Commissioner, and part of what I really believe in is true leadership is connected to the people and bringing the people's voices up to the forefront and making sure that we're advocating for real, significant, systemic change. And as far as the congressional district is concerned, this is Georgia's newest majority-minority district. It's the newest one, and so if you look at the makeup of it, it's been vastly underinvested in. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. My name is Richard Wright, and I'm running for Senate District 38. I'm running on the platform of economic development for the district, the full expansion of Medicaid in the next term, and also for schools and for students. And so, Richard Wright, running for Georgia State Senate District 38.
Hello, my name is Grace Demmett. I'm running for House seat 49. I'm 26 years old. This is my first time running for anything. So I'm running mainly on the platform of healthcare, education and children's rights, and environmental reasons. So as a disabled person and a woman, we are vastly underrepresented in the state legislature, and I think it's incredibly important not just to have women, but also people with disabilities included and our voices included. So for environmental policies, I really want to.
Hi everyone, my name is Deborah Shigley. I am running for the State House, District 47. I live in Milton with my husband and 5 children who are ages 5 to 13. I did my undergrad at Harvard, my law degree at Georgia State, and have been a lawyer, a journalist for many years, and I am running to fully fund our public schools, make life more affordable, to raise a family, and to keep our kids safe. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nate Green. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I am running for State Senate 38. I am running because I want to restore integrity to some of our highest offices in the state. I'm running because I want to make sure that we have responsible business development and growth in this district. I want to make sure that we have reasonable gun ownership and gun reform. I want to make sure that women's rights are restored and reinforced. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Daryl Terry II, but most people just call me DJ. I was born and raised in the city of Atlanta. I grew up on the west side, and I graduated from Georgia Tech. I'm a former public school teacher, and I currently work for the city of Atlanta. I'm running for State Senate District 38, and I would love to serve you. I have a platform of transportation, healthcare, and education. I believe those 3 areas impact our lives on a daily basis. And so I just want to say thank you for all for coming out. If you want to follow online, DJ4GA, and that's DJ4GA.com. Thank you.
Good evening, Democrats. Y'all say good evening. Y'all can respond. My name is Rashawn Kemp. Don't hold the last name against me, blame my husband. I am running for State Senate District 38, and I'm very excited to be here and about this campaign. My desire and passion for running leads me to this moment, having been a former high school principal that turned a failing high school around, led a state government agency, and most importantly, running to represent my children to make sure that my daughter has the right to make decisions about her own body. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chuck Squires. I am running for House District 49. I have never run before. I live in Milton. With my wife, I have 7 children. That is correct, I have 7 children. And, and the main reason I'm running is for women's rights. I was raised by a very powerful mother, and it's what spurred me on and what got me involved. And our state is very behind, and we're gonna need some serious leadership to turn that around.
Good evening. My name is Nkoyo Effiong Lewis, and I am running as the only woman in the race for Senate District 38. Yes, it is me up against 5 gentlemen. I am a mother, an attorney, and a former 4th grade teacher. I actually moved to Georgia to teach, and my entire career has been around advocating for women and children and the things that they need to be successful. Research says that when we place resources into the hands of women, it changes whole communities, and that's what I want to do, is make sure that we are investing in our communities.
Hi, my name is Tracy Vervin. I'm running for State Senate District 21. I decided to run because I was tired of the divisiveness. And when I talked to other Republicans, I realized, or I should say Republicans, that we all do agree on a lot of things. So I want to get some things done. Being a small business owner, I want to create more businesses. I'm totally into women's freedom and their rights. Elder care and child care is very expensive, and I'd like to see tax breaks for those.
Good evening, my name is Anthea Carter. I'm a lifelong Georgia native, 5th generation to be exact, a Grady baby. And I'm a licensed ordained minister, certified medical assistant, have been both for over 30 years. This is my 2nd time running, and I'm running because your daily concerns continue to be arrogantly ignored by our present legislation.
Thank you all candidates. Now we're going to get started with question number 1. We'll start with you, Ms. Carter, since you have the microphone, and work our way this way. Question number 1. With Republicans having the overwhelming majority, how do you plan to be effective during your term and making good on campaign promises? And what are 3 pieces of legislation you plan to personally introduce?
First thing, the question on the Republicans. Listen with intent to hear. Unfortunately, as I said, we continue to be arrogantly ignored. I don't feel like anyone is listening. So that's the first thing, to listen to the Republicans and with the intent to understand. My 3 things are economic security. It's a shame that we have over 8,000 children with food insecurity, mainly economic security.
Yes, we're going to go this way.
Same question?
Yes, same question.
Okay.
And I can repeat it at any time.
Repeat it.
Yes. With Republicans having the majority, overwhelming majority, how do you plan to be effective during your term in making good on campaign promises? And what are 3 pieces of legislation you plan to introduce personally?
Actually, I'm really excited to talk to Republicans. I kind of mentioned that in my beginning speech. I ran for a nonpartisan seat years ago, and by doing that, I kind of learned how to talk about what all matter to us. So my 3 things: childcare. Childcare is extremely expensive. We also have a lot of childcare deserts in Atlanta, so we need to work on that. Elder care is extremely expensive. My mom has Alzheimer's. It's not easy just to take off when I need to. Whoa. 3rd thing, common sense gun safety.
This is a great question. You know, my entire life, I've been a super minority in every space. I'm originally from Ogden, Utah. I'm sure you didn't expect that from me. And so I plan to go into the Gold Dome fighting like a mother to make sure that the things that we need, that the progressive values that we hold to are ones that show up in our bills and our budget. I truly believe that we have to, that change happens at the speed of trust, and so we have to build relationships rooted in trust and respect to get the things done that we absolutely know need to happen.
Again, my name is Chuck Squires, and the way I would work with Republicans is the way I've always worked with people, is to be honest and open and fight really hard for what you believe in and to change some hearts and minds. Because on some of the issues, I feel we are right. And I just feel that we haven't had enough representation. And so we need to start a movement. We need to get together, we need to work together, we need to get things done. Women's rights, Medicaid expansion, and protecting our civil servants.
So we as Democrats have to make sure that we are aware that our number one responsibility is to fight to kill or to amend these horrible pieces of legislation that Republicans put forth. Second, I will fight to have an opportunity weight for schools. We need to better fund our public schools, and I believe that we need to, Georgia's only one of 6 states that does not give an opportunity weight for students that are underprivileged. And in addition to that, to fight to have a full-service hospital south of I-20, because there is no full-service hospital south of I-20 right now.
So, three pieces of legislation. First one is a phased approach to increasing the minimum wage. I'll do $15 over 7 years. The second one is a study commission to bring a full-service hospital. Be careful. I was falling. I'm so sorry. I almost lost my life. All right, so again, increasing the minimum wage. The second one is reforming QBE, and the third one is bringing a full-service hospital south of I-20. To your point about working with Republicans, of course, building relationships with Republicans, but making sure that we actually talk to Republicans to figure out what it is that we can do to get past, and making sure that we work with them to find answers to the problems that we want to see completed. And we always get a couple of priorities through. We need to make sure that those priorities are ones that we can focus on, and not ones that we can't beat the governor on, essentially.
Thank you for your question.
Oh, one more thing. I'll start the timer the moment candidates start talking. We good? All right. Sorry.
So again, thank you for the question. What we already know about me is I already have existing relationships on all levels of government across the aisle. So I am the candidate that is uniquely able to get legislation done on day one. The 3 pieces of legislation that I would immediately work on is creating a buffer zone in our residential areas for warehouses, making sure that our transportation and infrastructure is being reinforced in the city of Atlanta as well as the state of Georgia, as well as updating the QBE because it hasn't been updated since 1985.
Well, the first thing is we have a lot of great candidates and a lot of races, so I'm optimistic that we could flip the House. So that's the first thing. If not, then we will be zealous advocates for the causes to push back on all the horrible policies they may put forth and fight for the rights that our citizens deserve. In particular, the Reproductive Freedom Act, restoring and protecting reproductive rights, birth control, and IVF. Also, repealing the school voucher bill that is pulling money out of our public schools. And finally, free breakfast and lunch for all Georgia's students.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to every Republican with the honesty of saying, hey, I'm going to come into the conversation with an open mind and open heart, and I ask that you do the same. And so one bill I'm going to work on is an apprenticeship tax credit to bring it to Georgia so that we can start hiring more apprentices. And at the same time, while working on that bill and building relationships, I'm going to talk to the governor, and we're going to have a full expansion of Medicaid.
Yes, absolutely. With Republicans having the overwhelming majority, how do you plan to be effective during your term in making good on campaign promises? And what are 3 pieces of legislation you plan to personally introduce?
So with Joe Biden getting elected in 2020, we know that Georgia is a lot more purple or even blue than is reflected in our legislation because of gerrymandering. I know that right now it seems like politics is just team red and team blue, so I want to demystify and humanize some of the Democratic policies that I think are really popular with everyone. Some things I want to do, I want to enact environmental policies, and being the youngest person here, I've been in public schools most recently, so I have a lot of ideas on how to reform public schools.
Thank you. And we have an additional candidate. Please be sure to state your name, why you're running, and which category.
Good evening, and let me apologize for being late. Mommy happened again.
No worries, we're happy you're here.
So I apologize. My name is Lily Alano. I'm running in SD 21, State District 21. with Miss Tracy over here. And did you want me to say why I wanted to run?
Yes.
I wanted to give a voice to everybody that, like me, who feels like they're not included or they don't have a voice. So I decided to run so that I can personally work on things that matter to my community and my family, like education, the environment, women's rights, along with, a lot of other stuff. So that's the reason I decided to run.
Okay, and now would you like to answer question 1? I can repeat it if needed.
Yes, please.
Okay. With Republicans having the overwhelming majority, how do you plan to be effective during your term in making good on campaign promises? And what are 3 pieces of legislation you plan to introduce personally?
I plan to be effective by being there, being willing to listen to the voices of my community. I also want to introduce more as far as the environment, bills or legislator concerning that. I also want to make public school a little more, how can I say this, a little more clearer to parents and in the community as far as disciplinary actions, how they should be listed and go up the chain. I want to include legislator.
That's the timer. It's not your phone, it's the timer. Okay, and actually, would you mind?
It doesn't pay bills.
That's the timer. So we're going to start with the second question. Oh, did we skip over you? I'm sorry. Okay. So for the second question, we'll start here so that it's just one half circle.
Okay. All right. So I will go ahead and shoot on the first one. I'm sorry. With today, yes. Okay. Republicans. So today I currently represent an area that is 50-50. So I have to do that every single day as a current elected, working with state, federal, and local representatives. And we prioritize what's important by listening to each other and making sure that we are focused on implementation and results. Everybody wants to be able to wave their banner when something's successful. Same goes for bringing investment into the district. All right.
Thank you. All right. Question number 2. If elected, how will you address concerns of voter suppression and misinformation, as well as make sure U.S. elections are free from foreign interference?
30 seconds.
Let's start here at the end so that we can just have one half circle. You can take up to a minute, but not more than a minute.
Okay. Sorry, can you read the second part of the question one more time?
Yes. If elected, how will you address concerns of voter suppression and misinformation, as well as help make sure U.S. elections are free from foreign interference?
So voter suppression is something I'm extremely concerned about. Again, like I said, as a disabled voter, I like to use mail-in voting, and it's extremely concerning to me how difficult they made that. And when I most recently got my mail-in ballot, they put so much terrifying language in bright capital red letters, and it really dissuades people from voting, and it makes you terrified to vote. It really should. We need to be sending voters information on candidates and making sure that the wording of legislation on the ballot is more voter friendly, because I think it really trips up a lot of people. I think that having ID is not a bad idea, but getting an ID needs to be much easier. It's really difficult for people to get an ID. It needs to be much more accessible. And I think that we need to trust voters. We need to get voters more engaged instead of trying to press people's votes.
Thank you.
All right. Misinformation is one of my favorite topics. I am a Georgia Tech biomedical engineer turned software engineer, and I work in cybersecurity. And so certainly have seen the trajectory of misinformation over the last several years and the way in which our personal data plays a role in that. So certainly one of the things I do plan on influencing is working with the NIST agency and how they bring about the guidelines around those rules so that companies are also taking into account privacy and data and looking at how to be very forward thinking about that. As far as how you really solve misinformation, it's about building connections within the community. There is no shortcut around that. When people don't trust one another, they're fearful of one another. And that's where the conspiracies begin to fester. And that's why it's important that whoever is representing you is there, is physically there, is listening, is on the ground, is participating. Because if they're not, then those ideas are left to fester on their own. Thank you.
Well, let me give everyone some information about myself. I see that I'm down the first time. And so, my name is Richard Wright. I moved down here in 1997 with my GED, and I moved out here to be a rapper. And so, my mom taught me to go into college. And so, race didn't happen to me. And so, I ended up getting my undergrad degree, my grad degree. I'm a licensed CPA. I went to Georgetown Law School. And so, the question, to answer the question, let me say, is that I'm going to work tirelessly day and night to get Joe Biden elected as president, all right? And that means going into areas that people don't look like me, people don't think like me, and getting them to realize that Joe Biden is best for the country. And so I have no fear. I've been to Tea Party environments. We had some lively discussions, but at the end of the day, I think that when you reach out to people and when you talk to people, they can respect you. And when you have something to run on, they respect you even more, and so that's what I plan on doing to have the election.
Thank you.
So the first part of the question regarding voter suppression, it's very interesting because one of the things that got me activated in this journey to running for office was a situation we had in Milton. As many of you know, Milton took over running its own elections, and I saw that happening, and there was a sort of a liminal period where maybe that wouldn't happen. So it involved a grassroots effort by many in the community, many who were in this room, to figure out how to get involved and push back on that. And through that process, not only did I understand a little bit more, kind of peeling behind the curtain of just how important our local officials are in making the decisions that affect our daily lives, but also saw in our successful garnering a third precinct when they wanted to only have 2 through our grassroots efforts, that we can make a difference if we actually work together and push back if we're not in the leadership position. So that was a very successful situation that I think we'll continue more of that for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for the question. Cut out for a second. Okay, so my professional career has seen me be the most well-rounded candidate. Okay, this thing doesn't like me. Okay, so my professional career has seen me be the most well-rounded candidate in District 38. And what that allowed me to do is have the unique opportunity of actually facing a cybersecurity threat in one of the companies that I worked for before. What I understand is, even as the most well-rounded candidate, I don't have all the answers. Okay, so I know when it's time to call in the big guns. So if there was some cybersecurity issue, I know to call in the IT guys. I'm not an IT specialist, right? The other question about voter suppression, I will work with organizations that are already in place, such as Fair Fight, to make sure that we're getting people out to vote. I will make sure that our people who look like me, people who look like you, understand that their vote counts, so that we know that each and every person has a voice.
Thank you.
Did you repeat the question again?
Yes. If elected, how would you address concerns of voter suppression, misinformation, and make sure U.S. elections are free from foreign interference?
So I'll say this. The first one, let me be very clear. Our voting rights in Georgia are under attack, and they've been under attack for a very long time. And so the first thing that I'll do is, as a legislator, is introduce legislation that combats that, right? We do a complete repeal of Senate Bill 202, continue to work to make access to the ballot box easier. I believe that it is a right to vote and it is not a privilege. And so it doesn't make sense to me that in Georgia we're making it harder for people to vote. And so what that looks like is, of course, expanding ballot drop box access locations, while also working to make sure that our elections remain free, open, and fair for everyone to participate. And then it also means going into the schools, going into our community, to kind of talk about what we can do to elevate the voices of the people who are running for office and the things that they believe in, so that way people can make an informed decision when they go into the ballot box. And so I believe that making sure that we work with Republicans, introducing legislation to the Senate Ethics Committee to talk about how we can make it more easier for people to participate.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. First, it's critically important that we engage our electorate. It is, really sad to see the low turnout that is occurring in these races and in future races. I think one is us making sure that we have very strong candidates up and down the ballot representing us to get people engaged, making sure that when we're elected as your next state senator, I'm somebody that's out working in the community, engaging our community to keep them engaged in the legislative process. And in addition to that, making sure that we create laws that are informing and engaging our electorate. I was just meeting with a voter the other day, and she came up with this amazing idea for legislation that if there is ever a change in your district, the state should be required to inform you that your legislative or congressional district has changed. There are a lot of people in these communities that do not know that they're in Senate District 38 or in Congressional District 6. So it's our government's responsibility to engage and inform voters, and that's what I plan to do as your next state senator.
Thank you.
So these are very important things, right? And as far as disinformation, how do you combat that? You combat that by being loud and telling the truth and engaging with people and being very active in your community. And I can tell you that's what I would do in my community. I would get to know as many people as I possibly could, and I would fight. And you know, I was thinking about the way we deal with the Republicans on the other side of the aisle. And it is important to be respectful and to work, but it's also important to scream and yell when you know something's right. And I think we could do a little more of that. Because when you've got the moral high ground on things, the truth is the truth. And so I think we need some loud, aggressive people who are speaking the truth to power. Thanks.
Thank you.
I had an opportunity recently to speak with a woman who advocated quite loudly for changes to housing here. One of the things that she said to me that sticks is that we need one loud voice. And I think that it is important right now that each and every one of us that are in this space use our network and our relational power to engage other voters, our neighbors, etc., in this conversation. Because voting is the way that this system works. As a practicing attorney, one of the things that I have seen is that oftentimes we have laws on the books, but it's so hard for people to be able to actually exercise their rights. And so voting is one of those areas where we've had federal protections. Unfortunately, those things have been rolled back, and now it is at the state hand. And so we need to make sure that we have people in the Gold Dome who understand how law and legislation works and how it actually impacts people, to ensure that we are building out systems that make sure we don't have things on the books that we don't feel in our lives. And the other thing, I was a former 4th grade teacher. Media literacy was a standard. Unfortunately, not every student gets that. We need to make sure that we're advocating for that in our classrooms as well, as well as civics.
Voter suppression is happening because they know there is more of us, are more of us than them. They're just scared. So that means every single one of us needs to come out. Grab your neighbor, drive the little lady down the street. Everybody needs to come out. We need more ballot boxes again also. Now, when it comes to the meddling of foreign countries, this is a big pet peeve of mine. We have got to get rid of Citizens United. Citizens United was a horrible decision by the right-wing justices. That's basically legal bribery. That's what it is. We need to get rid of Citizens United.
Thank you.
Voter suppression. But I'm near the end, so it's like covered it all. Bring back our ballot boxes. The next one would be, as far as voter suppression goes, I'm all for our IDs, but here's the issue. Every last one of you in this room, as voters, you have the right to vote, as he said. You have the right. It's a privilege, and it's a right. But in voter suppression, what's keeping us hindered, I'm trying to make sure I don't repeat everyone and sound different, so forgive me for that. But it would take my family to tell you and how voter suppression has really affected us. I would say that we need to put back every single person that has ever been incarcerated needs to be able to vote. That's a part of voter suppression. It doesn't matter what your race, your color, your creed is. You need the right to be able to vote. That's voter suppression.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am a firm believer in education, and I think the way to combat that is to educate everyone. I firmly believe that we all need to know what's going on, because if you know what's going on, it's hard for you to be fooled, okay? So I would implement programs, for example, for the elderly, because we are a fast-moving society with technology. A lot of them get overwhelmed. We need programs that are set up that will assist the elderly in filling out forms, whether they be online, whatever. I just feel like the way to combat, all of that is to make sure that everyone is educated, they know where to go to vote, they know their precincts, they know everything, and that way we can go ahead and, that's the way to help. As far as interference into our voting, I mean, at the end of the day, we cannot stop that. What we need to work on is what we can control. And what we can control is being prepared, being educated, and being ready, and going out there to vote.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, candidates. We appreciate your time and participation and the passion you have for serving the community and the work that you guys have done for years, individually and collectively. Thank you for your time. Up next. Up next, we have candidates for Clerk of Superior Court. And in the meantime, during this transition, we have some housekeeping items we're going to take care of.
Great, so while those candidates are making their way up on stage, I did want to remind you guys about a big important event that the Fulton County Democratic Party has coming up. We have our annual fundraising gala. It is going to be September 7th at the Hyatt. So if you have not gotten your tickets, please do so. All of you candidates, there's still an opportunity, or if you're a business owner, there's still an opportunity for you to buy a sponsorship or an ad. So if you haven't already done so, again, that is our big fundraising event of the year, folks. I received tons of emails from you guys about things that you guys want us to do, field plans, opportunities that you guys want. It costs money to do all of those things. So my ask is that you guys all buy a ticket to the gala so that we can get that done. So again, September 7th, you can go to the Fulton County Democratic Party website and get your tickets. All right?
All right, thank you. Do we have all of our candidates here? We're missing one. No? Sorry. Okay, we're going to get started with our second panel. Candidates, we have the same format. You have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, why you are running, and the race you are running for. You have 30 seconds. Then we have 2 questions. You have up to 1 minute to answer each question. We will give you a reminder at about 30 seconds.
Good afternoon. My name is Rodney J. Fowler. I am running for Fulton County Clerk of Superior Court. Why am I running for clerk? To decrease the deed fraud that has been going on in the state of Georgia, and also to create a constituent services unit that will enable, engage, and empower the community on what goes on into the clerk's office. What does the clerk do? Who is the clerk of court? And the third thing is, back the news, there was a issue with passport money.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shay Alexander, and I am your Fulton County Superior Court clerk. I'm running for office to retain my seat. I am born and raised in Atlanta. I'm a Fulton County and a Grady baby. And the experience that I have within and outside of the clerk's office extends more than 25 years. This is not a job for someone that's going to learn it on the job. This is not an on-the-job training. You need someone with experience. It sounds corny, but experience matters.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joe Hughes. I've lived in Atlanta most of my life. I grew up out in Stone Mountain, went to high school down in College Park, and computer science at Georgia Tech. So I've got an IT, security, cyber background. I work with 3D CAD software systems with government and classified environments. So I know IT systems and security. I've been working in these systems for 25 years, and I think we can do a lot better.
Thank you. Question number 1. With the increase of digitizing court records, how do you plan to balance the need for transparency and public access while addressing concerns of privacy and data security?
A quick question, LaTasha.
Yes.
Is this question 1 minute or 30 seconds?
1 minute, up to 1 minute. Absolutely. With the increase of digitizing court records, how do you plan to balance the need for transparency and public access while addressing concerns about privacy and data security?
Privacy and data security. Let's go back. Right now, if the documents are e-filed and anyone can actually get a copy of it, and so to ensure that it is secure, you have to have trained staff to make sure that they don't give what needs to be given out, and they should be able to ensure that the new system, it works.
Thank you.
There's a protocol. There's access to justice is very important. So the public needs to have access to the information that they should have access to. There's information, personal information, that should not go out to the public. We have things in place already that the public can view, the things that they should be able to view. But you're having to go back to the system to make sure that what is available on public access is only available to the public, and that the employees are properly trained to make sure that the information is not going out. So we believe that the information that is private should be private, right? And that we process the information accordingly.
Thank you.
Cybersecurity is something that I do. I've done for 25 years. I've worked with IT systems. IT systems, to me, are very simple to understand. The problem that we have very commonly with government is that you don't have a backup system. I fly airplanes on the weekend, and my kids know that Daddy likes the twin-engine airplanes because you have a second engine. You've got a backup plan. Not only do you have to have a backup plan, but you have to test that plan. That's something that's been missing a lot. Fulton County was hacked back in February this year, and we didn't test our backup plan, so it took us a lot longer. It was a lot more expensive to come back, and we can reduce that cost by testing those backups. So also, sorry, I'll continue with that. The other problems we've got are that we've got deeds that are recorded and they're not enforceable in court. So those are continuing problems with things that we can improve on IT systems. We've got a time that the clerk has to file the document, but then there's also a time that it becomes publicly available. Right now, I believe that's 8 days. In the past, it's been 14 days. It's been a lot longer. It's gotten better, but that problem needs to be fixed to prevent the deed fraud.
Thank you. Our next question came up a lot from voters. It was a top concern. The county has a history of having backlog in criminal and civil filings. What strategies or protocols would you create to ensure filings are completed with a timely and efficient resolution for all parties involved?
Well, currently, the interim clerk said there is no backlog. Well, if there is a backlog, there is a system in place that you move the work timely. The work should be done within 24 to 48 hours. That is the process, that is the system that has been put in place forever. Now, who's monitoring if the work is getting done? That is the issue. Who's monitoring the work? Where are the employees that should be getting that backlog done? There is a system in place. If that work is e-filed, it should be, there is no backlog if it's e-filed. But if it's not moved, then it's not e-filed. And your backlog is coming from the employees not processing work timely.
Thank you.
First of all, I'm not the interim clerk, I'm the Superior Court clerk. Let's just clear that up. There's no interim. So let's talk about backlog. Backlog occurs in different aspects of the system. So when you talk about backlog on the criminal side, it could be people in jail, it could be people that have not been indicted. The clerk is responsible for record keeping. I can only record what you send to me. So if the law says, the Superior Court rule says, Shay, you have 72 hours to process a civil or a criminal document. If I'm processing it within 24 to 48 hours, we're meeting our goals. On the real estate side, you have 14 days. You're a good clerk if you get your stuff processed within 14 days. We are 48 to 72 hours within that. So when you talk about backlog, it is a system, right? I managed, and I only have 1 second left.
I can go on and on. Thank you.
So again, we have this backlog. There's a difference from the time that the clerk files the document and the time that document becomes available. That problem, that difference is what's allowing these fraud things to happen. In that interim, the real estate attorneys that are trying to clear these deeds can't do that. It's in question, and there could be some transaction where the money's already changed hands and you don't have your title anymore. So we need to fix that problem. That's again, that gets back to IT problems. Same problem there. We've got these IT systems, and we've got a lot of ability to fix these problems by implementing IT systems that have checks and balances inside.
Thank you, candidates, for your time. We appreciate you being here. That's it. Our next panel, we have candidates for Superior Court Judge and one candidate for Georgia State Supreme Court.
And don't forget, folks, that early voting has begun. You have until May 17th. So please, if you haven't already done so, if you don't know where your voting location is, please reach out to us and we can make sure we find where your voting location is for you.
How much time for each question, Natasha?
You candidates, you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, tell us why you're running and the position you're running for. Then you have 1 minute to answer each question. So 30 seconds for introduction, then 1 minute to answer each question.
All right, we ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Scott McAfee. Thank you for having me here. It's been my tremendous honor the past year to serve you all as a Superior Court judge, and I'm asking for your vote tonight so I can continue doing that work for the next 4 years. And it's as simple as this: whether you've been accused of a crime, whether you're the victim of a crime, whether you have a dispute with your neighbor, my promise is for each of you that I'm going to treat everyone who comes to my courtroom with respect and dignity and fairness. And when I got into this job, it wasn't for the spotlight, and it wasn't to score partisan points, but it's simply because I love the law and I love making our system better, and that's what I've devoted my career to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Kraus. I've been serving as a Fulton County judge for you for the last 5 years, and it's been a great honor. I am up for re-election to serve you again for another term, and I'm asking you for your vote because I have worked tirelessly to keep my courtroom moving, to make sure that cases are timely processed, and to make sure that people who shouldn't be in the criminal justice system have an off-ramp to get out of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Barrow, and I'm running for the Georgia Supreme Court. I'm running because I believe that women have the same rights today under our state constitution that they used to have under Roe v. Wade. And as a result, I believe that the current abortion ban in Georgia is unconstitutional under the state constitution. That's the central issue in this case. It's not the only issue, but it is the most important decision the Georgia Supreme Court is going to make in the next 20 years. Politicians should be making your personal health care decisions.
Thank you. Since this panel includes 2 different races, the first 2 questions will be for Superior Court Judge candidates. First question is, one major concern for those who have been victims of crime is the time it takes to receive justice. What are the main factors for delayed justice, and what would you do to minimize time?
There is so much to this question, and it's the central motivating factor of why I'm here. I think at the trial level, so much depends on work ethic and experience. You got to know how to try a case in order to know how to shepherd one from where it starts and to get it across the finish line. When I took over this docket, we were facing with the COVID pause. We were dealing with a docket that had been frozen for a long time. I had over 53 different pending murder cases. We've narrowed that down. People shouldn't be waiting in jail for years waiting for their day in court. And that's what I've been trying to do this entire time, and I think the results and the numbers speak for themselves. I'm happy to share those with you when I've got more than 30 seconds.
You have up to a minute to answer the question.
All right. So again, to get into the details, I mean, you actually have to have spent your career in a courtroom and knowing how one works to know how to get a case ready for trial. It's not as simple as just setting a trial date. There's so many things that go into a pre-trial, and there's working in the case actively instead of just sitting back and hoping that it gets done. You actually have to get your hands in the weeds and be ready to get the trial weeks, to get them scheduled being in the courtroom.
I couldn't have said it better myself, really. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I can assure you that the way that you move cases and the way that you make sure that people get their day in court is to be in court. Everybody hears about the backlog. I think there are courtrooms, mine is one, that does not have a backlog because I am in court as frequently as possible to make sure that the parties that need to be heard, whether it's a criminal case with a crime victim and a criminal defendant, or it's a dispute among neighbors or among businesses, that those cases are being heard. And that is the way that you move the system forward. I also think that it's important to move the judicial system forward as well. And so part of the work that I've done during the pandemic, I helped to figure out how we could have Zoom hearings, how we could even pick juries remotely. Now, they came to court to actually try the case, but we figured out how to pick them remotely, all so that we can ensure people both justice and safety during that process.
Thank you. And the first question for Ms. Barrow, name a Supreme Court opinion that you agree with and why.
Brown versus Board of Education.
I'm sorry, recent. How about we do the last 5 years?
Let's get it right.
Name a Supreme Court opinion that you agree with and disagree with and why.
That I agree with and disagree with?
Yes.
Well, I think I said Brown versus Board of Education. And
And
decade. I didn't hear the decade part.
You're fine.
Okay. Well, Brown had a big impact on my life. My father was the closest thing to Atticus Finch within a 100-mile radius of Athens. And he presided over the case that desegregated our public schools. And I was in the first class to go all the way through the consolidated desegregated public high school in Clark County. So I was born in To Kill a Mockingbird. I graduated from a member of the Titans. So I learned an awful lot about the law and its importance and its impact on books long before I ever went to law school. Now, that's a case I agreed with. How about a case I disagreed with? Well, I certainly disagreed with the Plessy v. Ferguson decision and the Lyon decisions in the late 1800s that basically neutered the constitutional amendments passed after the Civil War by the Reconstruction Congress and gutted the statutes, overruled the statutes that would have done 100 years ago what we had to try and do in the 1960s. The courts, the highest courts, had a huge impact on our society.
Thank you. Second question for Superior Court Judge candidates. What are your thoughts on prosecutorial overcharging, and how would you handle it if you witnessed it in your courtroom?
All right, so when you talk about prosecutorial overcharging, we have to remember that the prosecuting attorney is a lot of times the most powerful person in the room. They control which charges are brought. And when it gets to when it gets in front of my courtroom, from there, we're moving it forward. And now if there's something wrong with the indictment, we'll deal with it. But the DA comes in getting to choose which charges that they bring. And as a court, it's not really your role to sit there and second guess those. It's to make sure that the case is lawfully tried, that is according to the rules of evidence and the Georgia and U.S. constitutions. And so you've got to know as a trial judge to stay in your lane. And so there's only so much of a check and balance there when it comes to the charging decision. And frankly, that's why the role of the prosecuting attorney is such an important one. But where a trial judge comes in is, again, making sure that it stays on track and making sure that it is a lawful decision and it's one that the evidence supports if they choose to bring it.
Thank you.
I think that's where the jury comes in. That's the jury's job. The jury's job is, once the judge figures out these are the charges that have been brought, the judge's job is to determine what are the laws that apply to the indictment that's been brought and instruct the jury properly on what law they are to apply to the facts. And then the jury system may not be perfect, but it is the most perfect system that I'm aware of that can solve that problem, right? They can address those issues because jurors, regular citizens like all of you, come serve on jury duty. They take the time to hash those issues out and exercise that real hard work to figure out what are the facts of this case that I find them to be, what law applies to it, and then they decide, was this overcharged, or was there a reason to charge it the way it was charged? That's the jury's job, as long as the judge is giving them good instruction.
Thank you. Second question for Georgia Supreme Court candidate. Please explain your judicial philosophy.
You know, judicial philosophy is easy to state and it's easy to mislead folks. You can say you're a strict constructionist and not really be able to say much. We've learned a lot about that. Folks lied their way onto the United States Supreme Court saying, oh, I believe in precedent. No, this isn't precedent. It's precedent on a precedent. Oh, no, this is super precedent. You got people who lie their way onto the court without really making the case about what they're for and what they're against. I think you need to contextualize it. The Supreme Court of the United States says you really can't judge a judge's philosophy unless you talk about an example of what you think is wrong. I think the example that I cited earlier is a classic case of how I would interpret the Constitution of the state of Georgia. It would embrace the progress that we've made since the 1860s and include the rights that people enjoyed in the 1980s. I wouldn't say that those aren't valid because they weren't conceived of by judges of the 1900s or the 1800s or the 1700s. I do believe in a living Constitution. Because if we didn't have a living Constitution, racial segregation would be our policy in this country. Women would still be the property of their husbands, and gay people would expect to spend the rest of their lives in insane asylums or prison.
Thank you. Final question for our Superior Court candidates. What are your solutions for managing caseloads? Are there protocols you would advocate for to help solve this issue?
Managing caseloads is basically logistics, right? It's what we deal with so often than not. It's as simple as this. We set deadlines, and we hold people to them. And when you're organizing your docket, you have to take each case individually, take it seriously, and feel invested in it. I think there used to be a time when the case counts were something we could live and die by. They were published, everyone could look at them. Maybe that kind of focus needs to be drawn back on them, because it's something I'm proud of, where I went from the oldest docket, the second worst, and now I'm pushing onto the podium, and I'm watching out for Krause here. We're elbowing each other here. But the bottom line is you just have to feel a sense of ownership and a sense of investment. Because every time I have to deny someone bond, it doesn't make me feel good. And it's because I feel like I'm compelled to, because the law says we need to have them in custody. But the idea is that they shouldn't have to sit there forever. They should have their day in court. They should be able to face that jury if they want one. And the state should have to prove the charges. And we can't do that if we're not actively managing the docket. And so that's very much something that takes experience to know how to do.
Thank you.
Knowing how to say no. That's why you have to have a scheduling order. You have to have deadlines, and you have to be able to say no. You have to, when you get a not very good excuse for why they can't go to trial right now, you have to say, no, I'm sorry, this case has been ready to go to trial for 3 months, it needs to go to trial now. Because again, that's the only way that you move it forward. I think the other thing as well is to be forward-looking in your calendars, right? When you know that cases are going to, I'm sort of a spreadsheet nerd, so like all my cases are on a spreadsheet, and I can look at when something is on a certain calendar, then I know it's going to this next calendar. And so then 2 weeks ahead of time, I can be looking at that case and seeing what's been filed and what am I going to need to decide to do and know about before those people are actually in my courtroom asking me to do something about their case.
Thank you. Final question. What are your thoughts on qualified immunity that protects government officials, including law enforcement officers, from individual liability?
My personal view is that that's an easy thing for the courts to articulate, but terribly subject to abuse. And I'd shift focus and say the same thing about executive immunity that's being talked about now in other courts. What judges are very bad about doing in hard cases is announcing some new rule, carving it out, and it just grows, and it gets worse and worse, and there's hardly any accountability. This is closely related to the subject of sovereign immunity. You're talking about official immunity, the immunity that folks claim as necessary immunity. I got to be able to break the law in order to do the job, or I'll always be worried I won't be able to do my job. Well, that's not a good test for official immunity. It's also not very closely related to the subject of sovereign immunity, the inability to sue the government when the government breaks the rules that apply to the government. You shouldn't have to have the government's permission to sue the government in your courts just to make the government follow the law. And yet, there are a lot of people who are expanding the notion of sovereign immunity way beyond its original concept in order to make it impossible for folks to get even injunctive relief to make sure that the government's doing what it's supposed to do.
Thank you. We appreciate your time, candidates, and the work you've done so far. Up next, we have candidates for Fulton County Sheriff. Welcome, candidates. We're going to follow the same format. You have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, talk about the race you're running for, and why.
First of all, praise the Lord in the name of Jesus. I am James J.T. Brown. I'm a retired Fulton County Deputy Sheriff, and our badge has been tarnished. We're concerned about the dangerous conditions at the jail, the number of deaths that have occurred, and the mismanagement of taxpayers' dollars. But guess what? There's good news. I, as James J.T. Brown, will be your next sheriff and have a plan to correct that and all those atrocities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joyce Farmer, and I'm ready to serve as your next sheriff. As we all know that the spending is out of control. The inmates are losing their lives before they even have a chance to even go to court. Everybody's talking about we need a new jail. We need a new sheriff first so we can get that quicker than we can a new jail. And I'm ready to serve you as your new sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for having us again. I am Kurt Beasley, candidate for Sheriff of Fulton County. I retired from the Sheriff's Office as a Lieutenant Colonel. I am a successful business owner, and I am running because I have concerns for the number of deaths we've seen, the misappropriation of funds being abused and used, as well as we need to find a way to keep our young people and all people from coming to jail, recidivism.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speed date with you. My name is Patrick Labata. I am your Fulton County Sheriff. From Frederick Douglass High School to Clark Atlanta University, I'm known to candidates from here, been here, and I need your help to continue to fight for Fulton County. When we took over the sheriff's office, we had 3,700 individuals with 600 people sleeping on the floor. Safety and security is foremost, and I need your help to continue to fight for Fulton County.
Thank you. First question for our candidates. You have up to 1 minute to answer this question. How do you plan to address the issues at the Fulton County Jail, from the number of inmate deaths to overcrowding and the physical condition of the building, and should it cost the estimated $2 billion?
Thank you. First of all, one death is too many. Let me express that. We are in a situation that when we took over at the height of COVID, your sheriff's office again was dealing with 3,700 individuals. A building that was out of life cycle 10 years ago that was also built to hold 1,100 people. So with that, what happens is detainees are weaponizing the building. And yes, it will take $1.7 billion to build a replacement facility, not a new jail. Anyone that tells you that we don't need a new jail is not being honest with you. We need a criminal justice complex, one that serves our mental health population, one that instead of having 25 beds for mental health populations, that is designed to have 400 beds. We have to do something about mental health, and we have to do something to give our employees a place that they're proud of to work. You have the #1 sheriff's office in the country, and thank you.
Thank you. Yes. How do you plan to address the issues at the Fulton County Jail, from the number of inmate deaths to overcrowding and the physical condition of the building, and should it cost the estimated $2 billion?
The condition of the jail, I think we need to, it should not cost, I'm not for building a new jail. I think we need to renovate, restore, repair, and regain control so the detainees will not be destroying the jail. And how we will get the jail population down, we'll work with the justice partners so that we can get the people out of jail that should not be incarcerated.
The third part is, well, you addressed everything. The number of inmate deaths, overcrowding, and the physical condition of the building and the cost. Okay. Thank you.
What I would do to decrease the population is to educate the community in reference to trying to prevent crime from them to come into jail. And as far as that amount of money that you say to build a new jail, I don't think we need that. The jail wouldn't be in the condition that is in if individuals conducting security rounds, doing the job as far as making sure everything is okay. If they saw a problem with the jail, they should have submitted some type of document to have it repaired. Was there another question?
Overcrowding, the condition of the building, the cost.
And the cost. As far as the cost, as far as the last purchase that was made, we could buy locks, since they claimed the locks were not working. With $200,000, we could have bought locks. And that's what I would do.
Thank you.
Thank you. First, I would go to my command staff and ask the classification system to look at every individual that's in that jail. We would look over their cases and see who could do what's called a sign on bond to get them out. Next, as far as the overall structure of the jail, I would have my think tank to come in and we'll do an analysis of where the major problems are with the building. We got some of the biggest construction builders in the world here. We can get that corrected by management, construction management organizations. What was the last part of the question?
The cost, the estimated $2 billion.
Oh, the $2 billion? I would use that to use it for community involvement instead of building a new jail. I would want to build what I call a crisis intervention precincts to bring down the incarceration, because when people have some place to go for resources, they will not go and do crime.
Thank you. Second question. We understand the sheriff's office has unique roles when it comes to serving the courts in the jail. But one of the top questions we had from the community is, what does successful community policing look like to you, and should there be a different strategy when serving higher crime and lower income areas?
Thank you for that question. It's good. I'm a 21st century law enforcement officer. What that means is I believe in working in the community and working with grassroots organizations. I'm a Morehouse man. They taught me how to handle and manage social problems. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'm doing that right now. I feed the homeless. I clothe them. I go to Our Lady Perpetual Health Home in the community and talk to people in hospice. So I'm doing that right now and not even being the sheriff. So when you elect me sheriff, it's going to get much better for Fulton County.
Thank you.
Repeat the question, please.
Yes. In addition to the way the sheriff's office serves the courts and the jail, voters want to know, what does successful community policing look like to you, and should there be a different strategy when serving higher crime and lower income areas?
What the community policing would look like is being involved with the community, especially with our youth. I would bring a program that's called like special deputies. I would start into the schools with the little kids, and as they move up, they can become what they call a special deputy. If they want to come into the facility to do intern, not with the inmates, but in the paper filing, they will be there to get training. This is for the seniors when they have free time from school. And as far as handling crime, that's different. It will be trained officers that know how to identify certain, for instance, mental health, someone having a crisis, and they will be trained to learn how to de-escalate and not use so much force.
Thank you.
Community policing should be unbiased, it should be fair, and should be consistent in whatever area of town that it is. No one should be treated indifferently because of the color of their skin. So, once again, community policing should be unbiased, fair, and consistent for everybody.
Thank you.
Community policing is what we're already doing. When I came in 1,215 days ago when I was sworn in, we had 2 people in community engagement. Today, your sheriff's office has 8 people. We focus every other Friday on Feel Good Fridays with 3rd graders. So your first interaction with your kids or young kids in the community are not a negative interaction. So we focus on walking these kids to class, having that level of interaction. And community policing involves being a part of the community. I've heard this very community say, we want you to open up the Alpharetta facility so that our police officers don't have to spend 4 hours tracking back and forth, so that we can get back in our communities and continue to create a safer environment. So we've done that, we will maintain that, and we will stay focused on our community as a whole.
Thank you, candidates. We appreciate your time. Our next panel, we have County Commissioner candidates for District 2. Please make your way to the stage.
Board of Education too with this, right?
No,
the
that
last.
is, yes.
The last?
Mhm.
Yes.
Hello, ladies. Same format. You have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, the race you're in, and why you're running.
Awesome. Thank you very much. My name is Megan Harris. I am a Georgia native, and I'm looking forward to being your next Fulton County Commissioner for District 2. Why am I here? Well, I am quite literally an activated voter. I started my activation about 2017, and when we were passing out waters and giving treats to folks that were standing in line, those long lines, and during that special election. My continued efforts in the community have continued to snowball with me educating myself further about all the issues that are going on. I look forward to being the Band-Aid there.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jennifer Philippi. I'm running for Fulton County Commissioner for District 2. I was asked to run for this role to bring a strong Democratic voice to the commission. I'm running on the basis of transparency in the budget, fully funding our justice departments and our elections, and to hopefully bring some environmental initiatives to our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 1, you have up to 1 minute to answer this question. What are the top issues facing Fulton County residents that you can help change as a commissioner?
So one of the top things that I've found as I've been out canvassing is really access to some resources and awareness of programs that we already offer to our constituents. One great example is our elder care services. Knocking on doors, I've seen that people have been trapped in their homes, whether there's lack of transportation, you have adult children that don't live close anymore. They need companionship, they need people bringing groceries to them. They need to know what their resources are that they're already paying for with their taxpayer dollars as well. So my platform being CPR with Change Through Collaboration, Progressive Vision, and responsiveness to our constituents, that responsiveness comes in the form of making sure that everybody knows what type of programs are at their disposal. We have a lot of the great things that are already going. The thing is, if you don't know about it, you cannot utilize them. And we also wanted to debunk the faux pas that Fulton County's issues are not North Fulton County issues. We have a lot of opportunities up here to help our people.
Thank you.
So first and foremost, I think that our citizens need to understand what our county commission does. So many people I'm speaking to are like, what is a commissioner anyways? So we need to educate and inform them. Then people are very confused about our budget. Where does our money go? What are their tax dollars going to, particularly in North Fulton? There is a big disconnect between North Fulton and South Fulton. And there's a lot of people in North Fulton who don't think that their tax dollars are being used for things that they believe in. They need to understand that Grady is our only level 1 trauma center in the area. And if we don't keep that funded and we don't keep that going, that impacts everybody. So education is very important for all of our citizens. Further, they need to understand the importance of what the commission does in terms of protecting our elections. Your Board of Commissioners elects the boards of registration and elections. We need to protect that board so that we can at least maintain what we have now with early voting and mail-in voting.
Thank you. Question number 2. As commissioner, name one county service or program you would expand and one you would eliminate.
behavioral mental health care services, continued expansion around that, specifically around our youth. We have seen from local news to national news what's going on in our classrooms, the struggle to hold on to our teachers as well. Our teachers have been crying out that the kids are different since the pandemic. We need to pay more attention in there. We need to make sure that current programs that are working well have the sustainability funding going forward so they can continue to grow in their efforts with outreach with our young people. So, because they are our next generation, and we're going to need them for future elections. We're going to need them to be future community activists and leaders as well to carry on the legacy of democracy. Something else that, as far as like eliminating of any type of programming, we need everything. It's tough out here. And like I mentioned before, whether it's elder care services or speaking directly to the youth, every bit of those taxpayer dollars that are being invested in our community should come full circle back.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of recommendations out there from the ACLU in terms of how we can decrease our population going to our jails. Those programs need to be fully funded. So we need to be looking at programs that can reach our youth, that can give them hope and raise them up so that they're not feeling like gang and crime is the only way out. If we can use our dollars to support these kinds of programs, then we're better off, then we're, again, reducing that jail population and helping to support the youth. We also need to continue to foster and support mental health. Another thing that hasn't really been discussed about with the jail is that a big part of the new jail is to bring mental health services to many of these people to help prevent them from being in that general jail population in the first place. So mental health services, prevention services, all of these things that help rise up our community altogether.
Thank you, candidates. We appreciate your time and your service. Thank you. Our next panel, we have the district attorney candidate and the tax commissioner. And the Board of Education. Sorry, with the last word. Thank you. Candidates, it's the same format. You have 30 seconds to introduce yourself, your race, and why you're running, and you will have up to 1 minute to answer 2 questions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm DeWan Robinson, born and raised in Atlanta, running for Fulton County Tax Commissioner. Our system has been broken far too long. Senior citizens losing their home over $30 trash bill, that's insane. Taxes are way too high. That office ought to be on the criminal investigation. And I'm running because not only that the system is too broken, I mean, we just sit here and we pretend that this system is working when it's not. People are really losing their homes like your real estate is all that you have. And we are taking this for a joke and we can no longer afford to do that.
Thank you.
How y'all doing? I'm Christian Wise Smith. I'm running for Fulton County District Attorney. I'm running to change the face of our justice system into one that will end mass incarceration, dismantle the school to prison pipeline, and make the office shift to focus on victim-centered prosecution. I grew up in the system, so it's personal to me, and I feel like having seen my mom and grandmother and so many other family members and friends go through the system, being kicked out of school myself and my mom losing custody of me growing up, I think that the life experience I have gives me a different perspective on how to fix the system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this invitation. My name is Arthur Ferdinand. I'm the Fulton County Tax Commissioner. I took this county when it was the worst county in the state for tax collections and made it the best in the state. Today, our collection rate is over 99% every single year. I collect over $3 billion in taxes without any scandals or anything wrong, 50 audits a year. We also have over 450 payment plans for seniors every single year, 450 or 500. No senior has lost a home because of me.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Lindsay Coates and I am running for Fulton County School District 1, which encompasses most of Roswell. I'm running because the current incumbent, Candace Stewart, asked me to. But she did that because I have a long-standing history with Fulton County schools. I'm a product of them. And I've been involved since 2016 when I was the PTA president of Vickery Elementary. It was a brand new school in Roswell. I've also been involved at more affluent school, that is a Title I school, Vickery Mill, and I was involved there for a long time. I was also involved at a more affluent school, Mountain Park, and make a difference.
Thank you. First question for the DA candidate. The ACLU sued the Fulton County DA's office after reports surfaced finding about 45% of inmates last year were in custody for 90 days or more, and some as long as 6 months without being indicted. What would you do to change that?
First, we have to realize that the people coming through the system are just that, people. They're not numbers on a file, they are human beings. So we need to treat them accordingly. And we help reduce that backlog and make sure that we're treating everybody the way they should be treated by shifting the office around. We waste too much money and resources and energy on crimes that deal with homelessness and mental illness and substance addiction. But if we partner with community resource providers on those issues, that will help free up some of the manpower and money to focus on the crimes like the car break-ins and the shootings and the things that really impact our safety. So once we make that shift, you'll see Fulton County become not only the safest county in the state of Georgia, but my goal is for us to be the safest county in the country. I want whoever the president is to call us and say, you guys are the model for how we run a local criminal justice system. And that all starts with reshifting the resources in the office. I see Liz in the office who worked as a public defender for many years. Her now on different sides, and she knows what I'm talking about.
Thank you. First question for tax commissioner candidates. Do you support tax incentives that amount to millions of dollars for major corporations that are not available to homeowners? And would you support a cap on residential property tax?
Yes, I support a cap on residential property taxes. In fact, about 20 years ago, I worked with Senator Zamaripa to introduce the CPI, where you kept the increase in the values by 3% or the CPI. I was part of that legislation, and I support anything to reduce the amount of taxes we pay. I try to collect taxes responsibly, to make sure that seniors are treated well. We make sure that seniors afford payment plans if they can't pay their taxes. We have something with Citizen Trust Bank where they could introduce a Christmas plan for seniors. I introduced that several years ago. In fact, talking about responsibility for the community, I put $184 million in Citizen Trust Bank every year. No other candidate for tax commissioner or tax commissioner in the state of Georgia does that.
Thank you. Same question.
Can you repeat that again?
Yes. Do you support tax incentives that amount to millions of dollars for major corporations that are not available to homeowners? And would you support a cap in residential property tax?
Yes, I would. One of the problems that we have is that I think we have 3 major corporations that have bought up 49,000 homes in Fulton County. And they're getting tax-free incentives by our tax commissioner and the rest of the mayors of these cities and the county commissioners. So when our current tax commissioner say they put $184 million, I think that's investor services who work for him, who got a contract to do that without a bid. Our current tax commissioner get $1 per parcel, $8 per tag. He's not only the highest paid elected official in the United States of America, but there's only 2 other people in the world get paid more than this guy. So there's a vested interest for him to also put that $184 million in the bank. And there's not a system in place for our seniors. We all watch the news. We see seniors losing their homes over $30 trash bill. This is not a joke. And so when they get up here and say that, yeah, he's going to say support it because the company that he's giving the bid to is $1 billion company. And he's not collecting the taxes. Investor services deal. That's why it's 99%.
Thank you. Now, one of the rules was you're not allowed to address other candidates or their records. Just talk about what you plan to. So now I have to give you a minute to give a rebuttal to that.
Thank you very much in terms of fairness. I do not have a contract with anybody. In fact, I do not collect a single nickel to run my campaigns. If I was doing something illegal, it would be in the newspapers. The newspapers even publish what I eat for lunch. It is illegal for me as a tax commissioner to have a contract with Vesta. I do not have a contract with anybody. The state laws don't permit it. I have judges here, I have prosecutors here. I won't be in office if I did anything illegal, as this gentleman says. He doesn't understand the responsibilities of the office. That's why he can say these things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't get it.
No. Because you weren't supposed to talk about that. Question number 1, Board of Education. How do you repair the educational gaps between underperforming schools in the county while still meeting the needs of schools that are meeting the state standards?
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and start off with saying that I don't know the full answer to that yet. What I do know is that in Fulton County, out of North Fulton, Roswell has the most low-income communities, or the most low-income students. And I've been a part of that community, as well as being a part of the affluent communities, and I know them. I know what they need, and I've talked with the principals, I've talked with the teachers, and what they need is more support. And I don't know the exact way to go about it yet, but I know that from talking with the people and making the connections and listening to what's happening within those schools and to the parents, that I know that we can find a suitable solution to make sure that all those kids are being educated and it's equitable throughout our community.
Thank you. And final question for the DA candidate. Fulton County is currently pursuing multiple RICO cases, including the election interference case and YSL cases. What is your stance on using this statute to prosecute crime?
The RICO Act came about in the 70s, and the intention was to go after organized crime. I think now you see it used too broadly. The best example I can give that happened here in Fulton County was the APS case from a few years back. I don't think that teachers should have been put in the same category as gangsters. And now you see it used as a way to kind of throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I think a lot of times prosecutors overcharge because there might not necessarily be enough there to bring a case in the first place. So I'm not saying that I will never use RICO once I become our DA, but we'll use it in cases when it's appropriate.
Thank you. Final question for our tax commissioner candidates. Something we've already touched on a little bit.
Which one?
Whoever would like the honor. As tax commissioner, would you propose to put an end to the practice of the tax commissioner personally earning $1 per parcel on taxes collected in parts of the county?
Woo, thank you.
That was the top question from the community.
So the base salary is $189. Am I right? I mean, he hasn't reported his.
Remember, just talk about.
Okay, the base salary.
Thank you.
Stop me over, Stop me over. So the base salary is $189,000. The current tax commissioner have not reported his salary since 2010. So
Sir, let's talk about
what they say his name.
Would you propose to put it into it, and what would you do if you were elected to that position? Thank you so much. Listen, 3 strikes, you're out. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, so
You have 30 seconds now.
He wasn't down to 30, he's down to 47.
45.
So the base salary is $189,000. No, I would not accept $1 a parcel, nor $1 a tag. I have never made $189,000. I would not fixate my mind on making $700,000. Why would I do that? No. So I would decline that. That money needs to be going in another pool to help senior citizens who are getting put out for $30 for their trash bill. A whole $600,000, you know what I'm saying, that you're making for collecting taxes off a third-party company is insane. It's been going on far too long. 27 years of making $700,000 is borderline criminal. and I will only accept my base salary, DeWan Robinson for Fulton County Tax Commissioner.
So you would accept the salary of what?
The base salary.
The base salary.
Yeah, whatever the base salary is, because it's not about me running for the money. It's about stopping this enterprise that's been going on for 27 years. That's put black, brown, white. It's putting people out there having the taxes are far too high. You know what I'm saying? Without no rhyme or reasoning. Or blanket assessments. How you gonna have 15 cities in the county and 3 tax assessors? We need about 30 tax assessors because we got too many blanket assessments.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Same question, sir. I'm sorry? I'm going to give you a minute and 15 seconds.
Again, somebody who does not understand the responsibility of the office.
That's not the
Sir? Come on now. Let him have his turn. You've had your turn. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Okay. Go ahead.
If I was only responsible for collecting for the city, for Fulton County, I would accept the base salary. But if I have to collect for other cities, I would require compensation for that, period. The state legislature is who determines what should be paid, not myself. And if the law changes, I would move with the law. I would support whatever the law says. Right now, the law says that I should get compensation for collecting for cities, and the cities are gladly paying that. Second, let me say that the Board of Assessors do not work for me. That's a separate board, distinct from the tax commissioner. And so values and exemptions is the purview of the Board of Assessors. Again, somebody who doesn't know what the responsibility of the office is running for office and saying these absurd things. I do not get paid by Vesta. Vesta is an independent company.
Thank you, sir. And final question for Board of Education candidate.
I'm ready.
Are
you going to take my on that?
Okay, final question. What role, if any, should parents play when it comes to developing and implementing an updated curriculum?
Well, parents should definitely have some input, I think, once new curriculum is rolled out. But we are, first and foremost, we're parents and we want to have a say, but at the end of the day, let's let the professionals do their job. They are the ones that are educated. They're the ones that are staying up to date on what's happening and new trends in curriculum. And they should be, and the educators and the Board of Education should be following those trends and what the research says on what should be implemented. And parents, at the end of the day, need to trust that. That's what we're elected to do as your Board of Education, and we should be trusted to be able to make those decisions for the county and for what's best for all of our students. Do they need input? Sure. I want to hear what parents have to say because it is a collaborative experience and it should be for the betterment of our society and to educate all these children. But let's leave it to the professionals here, you know? Like, the Board of Education isn't the ones making the decisions. It's the staff as well. So, thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. I think we have a record tonight. Let's give everyone a round of applause. So good. We are 12 minutes under, so I'm going to do something extra if possible. Do we have the three candidates for Clerk of Superior Court still here?
No, they never. They don't want to address the people. They don't want to talk to the people.
I'm sorry, I was going to give you guys a little bit more time since we had a few more minutes.
One question for the DA.
Another question for the DA?
Yes, but the tax commissioner is going to hear. The tax commissioner candidates.
Sure. Okay, one final question for the DA and then one final question for the school board. Okay, for the DA.
How much time, Latasha?
1 minute. I'm sorry, I'm getting my notes for you, sir.
Ask one from the heart.
No, it's going to be a question. Okay. With the rise of cybercrime and digital security threats, how will you allocate resources to combat cyber-related offenses while also upholding individual privacy in light of the breaches that we've had in the county?
Great question. DA's offices need to come on board with the times, right? And a lot of the crimes that we see now are cyber, or they're virtual, or they're, you know, not in physical form. You see a lot of things going on with things like Cash App or Zelle. You see a lot of fraud cases going on that are cyber related. So we need to create I would say a new system in the office where we have folks dedicated to those issues specifically. And again, it goes back to what I started off saying earlier. We need a shift in the office and how we use our resources. If we keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, I think y'all all know that's the definition of insanity. But if we want to see the DA's office address the issues that are happening now in 2024 and not running a system like it's 1980 something, then cybercrime and virtual crime would obviously be something that we would put more time and energy and focus on once I become RDA. So thank you very
so
much.
much. And Board of Education?
Yes.
Do you agree to receive a question?
Sure. For now.
Okay, so I have a question. Because of COVID-19, what I realized as a parent is that there is a kind of a divide and kind of like a area that is placed about parents interacting within the school. For example, I'm not sure if it's because of guns or whatever the issue. What would you do if you're elected to incorporate more parent involvement inside of the school?
Yeah, so I think I've started, in 2016, I started when Vickery Mill opened, which is a Title I school in Roswell, and I started at the executive leadership level, and we had to build out an entire brand new community that was very diverse, and from socioeconomic levels as well as demographically, and we were able to do that. And how did we do that? By listening, by getting people together, bringing them to the table, making sure that everyone felt invited, welcomed, and included. And I think that's at the basis of it and how I go about life in general. And so I think that that is just at the heart of it, making sure that everyone feels welcome inside those doors and every one of our schools, that not just parents, but also their students, their kids.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me as your moderator. I'll give one time to Luana and Dante.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this tonight. I mean, golly, did you guys enjoy that tonight? We would have some, reality TV there at the end, so hope you got your fun. So everybody left safe, so it wouldn't be a show without something entertaining there. So we do thank you guys for coming tonight. We appreciate you guys, and obviously, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make one final push and remind you guys, listen, this is going to be one of the biggest elections of our lives, guys. And so although all of you guys are here, we don't need you just here in these seats. We need you volunteering. So if you haven't signed up to volunteer, if you have not got with Dante, if you have not got with Seth and any of your other city captains to get involved, to start phone banking, canvassing, because again, we can't do it on our own. These candidates can't do it on their own. Everybody needs help, but we need support if we're going to win these races. So we're going to need your help, not only on the field, but also in your pocketbooks. And so again, if you have not donated to the Democratic Party, please do so before you leave. Go to our website and you can make your donations there. Please do that, because again, in order for us to do all the texting campaigns, hiring canvassers, we have to have money to do that. So please, if you haven't already done so, do that.
What is the website?
FultonDems.org.
Thank you. There are Fulton counties in about 5 states. Giving money to others.
Yeah, and it takes money to put on events like this. So I tremendously want to from out my heart. Thank you
And eat the food before you guys go, because it doesn't go to waste. So please, or at least take some for a homeless person that you may pass on your way home.
For a quick second, can I have the North Fulton executive team stand up, please? Y'all know how you are. April, Seth, Raphael, Katie, This event could not have taken place without them texting 2, 3 in the morning. but they worked hard, and so I'm grateful to just be surrounded with so much talent, so many people as passionate as I am about getting out and making a difference in our community. So I just want to thank y'all so much. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight. And y'all know what time it is. We got to vote. Early voting's underway. It goes until May 17th. And then we have our election on May 21st. So let's rock it, y'all. Thank y'all so much.